Some places in Britain, people chose to leave. Others were forced out and promised they could return. They never could. And one of the places on this list vanished into the sea in a single night, with people still living in it. These are 7 corners of Britain that time simply left behind, abandoned, sealed off, or swallowed whole. Most Brits have no idea they're even there. By the end, you'll understand why one of them still can't be visited to this day. Let's start at number 7. On the eastern shore of Loch Fyne, near Portavadie, lies the footprint of a ghost village that never had the chance to host a single resident. This was Polfile. Erected between 1975 and 1977, during the peak of the North Sea oil boom, this state-of-the-art hub was built to house up to 500 workers. These men were destined to construct massive concrete offshore platforms in the adjacent dock. But by the time the final dormitory was completed, the energy market had shifted. The industry abandoned concrete designs for cheaper, lighter steel structures, rendering the entire project obsolete. Polfile, with its brand new canteen and freshly made beds, was left behind. It sat entirely empty, without a single night of human occupation. For nearly 40 years, the concrete shell decayed in the damp Scottish air. Its only interruption came in 2009, when a street art collective called the Agents of Change secretly covered the interior walls with haunting murals. That quiet afterlife ended in 2016, when the village was completely demolished. Today, only flat foundations remain, a quiet warning of how quickly industrial promises can turn to dust. In the chalk hills of Wiltshire's Salisbury Plain, the village of Imber was a place where generations of families had left a physical imprint. By the early 1940s, this was a quiet, self-sufficient community of around 150 people, supported by a school, a busy forge, and a local pub called the Bell Inn. On the 1st of November, 1943, that centuries-old rhythm was abruptly shattered. The War Office summoned the villagers to the schoolroom and delivered a devastating directive. They were given just 47 days to pack up their lives and leave. The military needed the entire area to train Allied troops, including American forces, for the upcoming D-Day invasion of Europe. The families left under the impression that this sacrifice was temporary, believing they would return once peace was restored. But they were never allowed back. In the early 1960s, a legal challenge fought by former residents to reclaim their homes failed, sealing the village's fate as a permanent casualty of war. Today, Imber remains locked within the Ministry of Defence's vast training area. Most of the original thatched cottages have crumbled, leaving only the ancient Church of St. Giles and a few hollow brick shells standing amid the military ranges. Public access is highly restricted, limited to just a dozen designated open days each year. Anyone wishing to visit must check Ministry of Defence schedules and safety guidelines in advance, as the roads through the live fire training zone remain closed for the rest of the year. High in the Lincolnshire wolds, a different kind of relic was quietly erased from the land. This was RAF Stenagott. In 1959, the Ministry of Defence installed 4 colossal parabolic dishes here, each spanning roughly 60 feet across. They served as a key link in NATO's secret ACE high communications network, designed to bounce military signals over the horizon from Norway to Turkey. When satellite technology made the network obsolete in the 1990s, the station was decommissioned. The steel dishes were left to rust in the hills, simply because dismantling them was deemed too expensive. For decades, they stood as eerie metallic sentinels of the Cold War. But that quiet retirement ended in 2018, when 3 of the dishes were dismantled and sold for scrap. By 2021, the final dish had gone. Today, only the Grade 2 listed radar tower and a series of empty concrete mounts remain. 40 miles west of the Outer Hebrides, the volcanic cliffs of Hirta rise sheer from the Atlantic. This is the main island of the St. Kilda archipelago, where communities endured for over 2,000 years in near-total isolation. By 1930, after a succession of brutal winters, crop failures, and devastating illnesses, only 36 islanders remained. Realizing that another winter would bring starvation, they petitioned the British government for evacuation. On the morning of the 29th of August, 1930, the Royal Navy vessel HMS Harebell arrived in the bay. The departure was entirely voluntary. Before boarding, each family performed a final ritual. They left their doors unlocked, placing an open Bible and a small pile of oats on their tables. Today, the stone village remains exactly as they left it, preserved under the care of the National Trust for Scotland. As a highly protected World Heritage Site, this fragile sanctuary demands absolute respect, its silence a monument to a way of life that simply ran out of time. In the muddy waters of the Bristol Channel, off the coast of Weston-super-Mare, a Victorian structure slowly surrenders to the tides. Opened in 1867, Burnbeck Pier stands as the only pier in Britain designed to connect the mainland directly to an island. In its Victorian prime, it was a hub of coastal leisure, hosting a bustling funfair, a theatre, and passenger steamers arriving from across the Channel. That bright era faded during the Second World War when the Admiralty requisitioned the pier for secret weapons testing. Decades of subsequent neglect took a heavy toll, forcing its closure in 1994. Since then, the sea has repeatedly claimed pieces of the historic ironwork, leading to major structural collapses. Following nearly 30 years of local campaigning, North Somerset Council purchased the pier in 2023. While phased restoration efforts are now underway to stabilise the structure, securing the full funding needed to fully rebuild this fragile link remains an ongoing challenge. On the wild edge of Cornwall's Tin Coast, near St Just, two stone engine houses cling to the cliffs of Bottolac. Built in the 1830s and the 1850s, they served an underground network with shafts reported to reach up to 500 metres beneath the Atlantic seabed and nearly half a mile out under the ocean floor. When falling tin prices forced closure in 1895, the mine fell silent, reopening briefly before its final 20th century shutdown. Today, these ruins outlast the storms that should have erased them. The lower engine house is now too fragile to approach closely and must be viewed only from above. On the South Devon coast, Holzarns was once a thriving fishing village of 37 homes and a local pub, the London Inn. Its 160 residents relied on a massive shingle beach to hold back the sea. But in 1897, engineers began dredging hundreds of thousands of tons of that shingle to build the Devonport dockyard. They never warned the villagers. Deprived of its natural barrier, the beach collapsed. By the time protests forced the government to revoke the dredging license in 1902, the damage was done. On the night of the 26th of January 1917, a violent storm struck at high tide. With no beach to break the waves, the sea destroyed the village. By morning, 29 homes were gone. Only the Pretjohn family's house remained on the cliff. These ruins remind us that Britain is filled with forgotten corners, shaped by policy, power, and human error. Which of these 7 places stayed with you the most? If there is an abandoned landmark near you that deserves to be included in a future part, tell us in the comments. Please subscribe to support the channel. These quiet ruins aren't just relics of yesterday, they are mirrors of our own fragile present. Which of these silent spaces stayed with you, or is there a forgotten corner nearby we should visit? Tell us below. Please subscribe for more untold histories.